Hey guys, Kersner for the Girlfriend Experience, Season 1, Episode 2 of Friend, and I was really looking forward to this episode. The first episode really impressed me. I really love where it was headed, and even though it was an introduction, I knew that things were going to get crazy, and already it seems like things are starting to get crazy, and I definitely really love this episode. I thought this was even better than Episode 1, honestly. There were a lot of really great things about this episode, really great stuff overall. Definitely really enjoyed this episode. But let's just get into it because once again, like I said, the attention to detail in episode 1, there's already like things that again didn't seem like a huge deal, but are already starting to be a big deal in this episode. But let's just get into it. There's a lot to get into, and again, I love how this show is able to tell this story in just a half an hour. I mean, it didn't seem like you could do that, but it's doing it so well, and it's mainly because this kind of served as the second half of the last episode, definitely. So the first episode. So let's just get into this episode. So we see Christine, she's looking at Ashley's profile, and she seems very intrigued, and especially the whole meet and greet part, where she sees basically what Ashley does, and basically sees how casual this really is, and we see Tariq then comes by, and Tariq becomes even more interesting of a character here, because I didn't really think much of his character, but he becomes even more interesting here. He asks her how it's going, she says it's been pretty nonstop, and gives him the rent. He tells her some of Stacy's friends at Logan Square are having a party, and asks if she wants to come, and she asks if Stacy wants her there. He says that she's the one who asked him to invite her, and she asks if he told her about them, and he says not yet, but he's sure when he does she'll understand it's in the past. So this is very interesting. I don't think we've heard about this before, but Tariq and Christine clearly either dated or something happened between these two in the past. We don't really know what it is, but I'm sure we're going to find out what happens later in the season. But that already has me very intrigued, and already I like that Tariq is not just Christine's roommate. That's just funny. There actually is more to his character, and I definitely do like that. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. She says to not be naive and gives him a check of cash to cash, and he says she's so cynical. So at Kirkland, we get a lot more details with what's actually going on at Kirkland. As we know, we had that brief scene on episode 1 where David was yelling at Aaron and something was definitely going on here. We start to get more of a sense of what's going on. We see at Kirkland, David tells her he wants her to amend Claim 32, and she tells him he has great organizational skills. He says it's all in his mind. He knows where everything is. She then meets Ben Holgram, who David says is the devil because Holgram's client is suing the shit out of David's, and Holgram says he heard um XHP is unhappy with him, and David tells her to tell Susan to hold his calls. She goes into his office and sees an article about XHP and Kersner going head to head. Now, I'm assuming that XHP is them, is Kirkland, and Kersner is, the firm that Holgram is from. So you can already tell this is going to be a very interesting thing that's going on here, and we definitely get more details about that a little later on. So Christine's in that gym with Avery, and obviously she has a lot of questions about this whole situation with being a GFE, and she tells her being a call girl is not something she'd like to make into a career, but she enjoys it, meeting new people, having sex. She only does it a few times a month. Christine says that she meets all her clients online, and Avery says a few, and there's a woman, Jacqueline, that vets for them and takes care of the booking. She asks Christine if she wants to meet her. She says she's curious, and Avery says there's a difference between being curious and actually falling through, and there is a big difference because basically Christine says she's aware that, and Avery says that if she meets Jacqueline, she's going to want to book for her. She's smart, hot, and funny, and she just has to want to do it because she doesn't really know. You can tell that Christine, she isn't 100% sure if she really wants to do this. She's intrigued, but she doesn't really know if she actually wants to get herself involved with this sort of thing, which, basically she kind of has no choice after what she decides to do, but I like that Christine's kind of reluctant. She doesn't really know if she wants to do this. So Avery says she gets off him, and she likes the rush, all the attention, knowing he wants her, and then there's the money. And at the end of the day, if she doesn't get along with the client, she just moves on and goes to the next one. And it's really crazy to think about. This is actually a job, but just imagine, you're with this man, you do what you need to do with him, and then you move on to someone else. It's a crazy job to think about, but that actually does happen. And just the way they're showing that, I really love. And all she really has to do is listen and ask questions, and of course have sex, but we see Chelsea then goes into the building to meet with Ashley, Martin, and Garrett, and we see more of Martin in this episode. Martin says that he's glad she came. Martin kissed her, tells her that she looks beautiful, says it's interesting because they have some sizable estates, and there's no better sport than watching the wealthy try to hang on to their money or try to get some they think they deserve, and it never gets old. She says it's never the same story over and over again. He says it hasn't been yet, and he's been doing this for 20 years. He asks if she has a lawyer, and she says she doesn't. She says he could be her lawyer, and he says that, if he was, then this would have to stop. And obviously, you can tell that he likes her. And she says that they're just starting to get to know each other. They go to a hotel. Martin takes her into a room, says to make herself comfortable. And that line where she's saying they're just starting to get to know each other, I mean, they go from there to having sex. But again, that's part of the job. That's what she's supposed to do. So he says to make herself comfortable. She looks at the envelope with the money that Avery gave her. And he comes back, asks if she wants a drink. She asks for vodka with soda. She sits on the bed, and you can tell she's kind of reluctant. She doesn't really know what this night's gonna do. If she really wants to have sex with him. She doesn't really know if she wants to get out of this, but she can't really say no because she kind of wants to do this. There's a part of her that just kind of likes it, and it's kind of what Avery says, that she likes the attention. But I feel like for Christine, it's more about being in control. She wants to be in control, and basically, she sits on the bed, he comes back with the drinks, and they start to make out, and then they have sex, and basically, right away, you can see they have sex, and then she kind of moves on from Martin, basically. So Christine and Avery then meet with Jacqueline, who right away thinks that Christine is beautiful, and you can already tell there's probably going to be some clashing between Avery and Jacqueline, because it's clear that Jacqueline does not treat Avery as good as she treats Christine, and that's something that Avery notices right away. It's not really something I would have thought of going into the show. I would have thought that, Aaron and Christine were to clash, but it kind of seems like Christine and Avery are going to end up clashing. Not in this episode, obviously, but you can already tell that Avery can definitely tell that Jacqueline is treating Christine a lot different than she treats her. She's not really gotten this kind of treatment before. She kind of treats her like a regular client, while she treats Christine a lot differently and probably is more generous towards her. So Christine explains Jacqueline her knowledge of law, and Jacqueline says she does realize it's the result of hard work and school, and that's her passion. And Christine says it's costing her enough, and Jacqueline says it should pay off from this end. Tells her they have a couple of exceptional men in mind that would like her, and asks her if she takes photos, which she does not. Tells her they'll get her some. She then sits with Avery, looks in the mirror, and Avery says no one will ever see her eyes. And just that whole thing with her saying no one's gonna see her eyes. The photographer asks if she's ready. Christine asks where she wants her, and she says against the curtain. She takes pictures of her, tells her to angle her chin, slowly starts to unbutton her blouse, and then tells her to lift her skirt a little bit. And the look on Avery's face here is not necessarily a look of jealousy, more than a look of just she's being treated a lot different than Avery was, and she's getting a lot more photos, because Avery does have photos, but not as many as Christine. And Christine, there's just a lot more about her that they like that Avery doesn't have. And basically, we see Christine, and I love the way that this was done. Christine then looks at the pictures in law school. She gets a text from Jacqueline, who tells her the photos are incredible, and she meets with Jacqueline, who tells her she is to do only what she's comfortable with and how much she wants to get paid. She says she wants to make sure she's matched properly for reasons she wants her to find out, and tells her most of her clients will be white, and approaching middle age, and it should be enjoyable for her, because the more it is for her, the more it'll be for them. And what I loved about it is that most of the exposition we expect to get in the first episode, we actually get in this episode, and I love that. I love that we finally got that exposition here, because, again, this is stuff that we need to hear. It's part of Christine applying for a job. It doesn't feel like exposition. Again, it kind of just feels like we're listening to it, from a window away. And the way the camera panned here, I thought was really cool, because we start in a mirror, and then we get to their table, which I thought was kind of cool the way that was done. But again, it kind of makes you feel like you're not actually in the conversation. You're kind of like sitting directly from them, just listening in. And I think that's really cool the way the show does that. I don't know exactly what you call it, but it just is really cool the way they handle all that. And basically, Christine then asks her a question that I think is very important, a question that probably is on everyone's mind. Why should she go with her when she can do this for herself? Because, she can get the money, she can probably do all this stuff. And Jacqueline says it's all about math and quality, and finding life, in the hours she would spend finding and vetting clients could be spent with clients making money. So she's the infrastructure. She doesn't work for her. She doesn't work for her. She works for her. And if she's not happy, she leaves. Basically, Jacqueline saying, you don't work for me, I work for you. You basically tell me what you want, and I'm going to do it for you, which is very interesting the way that Jacqueline does that. It's very casual, as we can see. And basically, she tells her she already has one client at least, she thinks she does. And Jacqueline says he's all hers. And basically, Martin, of course, is that guy. And then tells her about another guy she found for her name, his name is Ryan, who is assertive, knows what he wants, but everyone who's seen him had a great time. And Jacqueline asks what she's comfortable with, and if her and Avery talked about it. She says she gets the gist of it. Jacqueline runs down the things she has to do, and Christine says that she's fine with all that. But the way she responds, I mean, you can tell that Christine, I think, is a bit, like I said, a bit apprehensive about this kind of stuff. Even though she's saying, "Oh, I'm okay with that. It's all right. I'm fine with that. I know what I'm supposed to do." You're not necessarily sure if Christine actually is okay with this stuff. I think, she wants to be okay, but she doesn't really know, and that's kind of the thing that I really liked her, is that you don't really know if Christine is actually okay with this stuff, and I thought that was done really well. But I think she likes having control, she likes doing this job, she likes what it does for her, and I like seeing that. So Chelsea then meets with Ryan, and right away these two hit it off. Out of all the three guys she meets, I feel like Ryan and her is the one that she's going to end up getting closest to. And she talks about her older sister that's a math teacher for middle school, and has one son who's got a lisp, and Ryan asks what his name is, and she says Sean, which he doesn't believe. He tells her that she has to rehearse this stuff. He knows she's new, but Jacqueline should be running bio drills with her or something, and he knows that obviously a lot of the stuff they're saying isn't true, but he has to believe it's true. That's kind of their job, and we know that Chelsea does have a sister, because I know from Wikipedia that's like the only character we haven't met. So I do know that she has a sister. What we don't know is how they've, like how they've met, things like, is her sister actually a math teacher, that kind of stuff. Is Chelsea telling the truth? I mean, we don't really know if Christine does have, we know Christine has a sister, but we don't know if she's actually telling the truth here, which is definitely very interesting. So she asks him how his day was, and they go back to the hotel, and I love the scene where he basically says that she could have 10 kids, he doesn't care, tells her to move closer, and basically right away they go back to the hotel. He asks her if she's on the pill, she says she is, but she'd like to use a condom. He says he doesn't have any, she says she does, and he tells her to go to the bathroom, where she gives him a blowjob, which again is one of the conditions, that's one of the things they agreed to. She puts the condom on him, and right away they have sex, and again, she has sex, and then she leaves. That's kind of what it is. Right now she's just testing different guys and seeing which one she likes and which one she doesn't. So Jacqueline shows Christine to her new house, but Christine says it's too expensive and she can't afford it, and Jacqueline says she can cover the deposit, and if she keeps working, it will figure itself out. And basically Jacqueline's saying, I'm gonna pay for you, I don't care, I'll pay for you, you're good enough, things like that. And right now, everything seems fine. So I thought that was very interesting, the way that Jacqueline basically was like, all right, I'll pay for this house. Don't worry about it. She now has her own house. My only thing is, what happens to Tariq? Because we know she's living with Tariq. So how does she explain this to Tariq? I mean, I don't think Tariq knows that she's a GFE. So clearly she's going to have to explain that to him. We didn't get that in this episode. I'm sure we will see more of Tariq and Christine, because we know they have a past. But in this episode, at least, we didn't really see a lot of that. So David's on the phone with a client named Emery, who clearly is the client that is going to be sued by, by, now I can't think of his name, by Holgram. He's going to be the client, because as we know, his client is suing his, and this is clearly the guy they're talking about. And basically, David is trying to manipulate, he thinks that David's trying to manipulate him and tells him that they're doing everything he can. He slams the phone down, meets with the board, who tells him that they already have given him a chance, and David says that this is how things move. And Emery's upset that he's had 3 mistrials and he shouldn't be hearing anything else out of his mouth other than he fucked up, which, he did. And David says, this is not the time to switch counsel. They will lose it if Kersner sees he had doubts. And basically, we know that they're trying to not let him get sued. They're trying to stop Kersner from doing that. So Aaron tries to speak, but Emery says he doesn't need to hear the same goddamn words in a different tone. One of the other members says he completely understands where he's coming from. He just wants to know how to fix this. And Christine is watching the whole thing play out. And that's the thing I love, is that this didn't feel like a weird transition, like we're focusing on David. Again, the focus remains in Christine. We're only seeing what Christine sees and what she knows, because the show is from her point of view, and I definitely really do love that. A lot of shows, I mean, yeah, they have subplots, but this isn't a subplot at all. This is just part of Christine's life, but she's just not involved with it yet. But you have to think that eventually Christine is going to get involved with this. I don't know in what capacity, but I feel like she's going to at some point. So Christine is then with Avery, who tells her Garrett is forcing her to leave, and she doesn't know why, and Christine says it's not a big deal. She should just stay with her until she figures it out, and says Jacqueline might be able to loan her money since she charged enough and asks how much she's paying her, and Avery says the same as her, 30%. Christine says it's kind of steep, and Avery says it's pretty standard, and adds that she doesn't like her. Christine says she's great, but 30% is a lot, that's all, and Avery says she can tell her if she doesn't like her, and Christine says she does, but to not tell her she said anything. So, very interesting, definitely. You can tell that Avery's being forced to leave, while Christine just seems to be have a lot more freedom. And again, you don't really see it, but Avery's definitely starting to get jealous of her, and I definitely do like that. And the thing I love of this, that we know in the first episode, they made up that story where Chelsea and Ashley, dated and then, she was jealous of Ashley, but now it's the other way around. And even though that story wasn't true, it's starting to come true. Avery's starting to get jealous of Christine clearly, but she's just not showing it. You can tell in her facial expressions, she definitely is thinking that she's getting a lot more than she is, and she doesn't understand why. So Christine then shows her to her house and gives her a tour of it. Avery says it's really nice. Christine says she's still getting used to it, but still likes it, but she likes it, and Avery asks how much she pays for it. She says probably too much. Avery asks if she has loans to pay off, and Christine says that Jacqueline actually put the deposit down, so that helps, and Avery asks if she can take in calls, and Christine says she's paying her back, she's just helping, and basically if she gives Avery money, tells her to pay back when she can. Avery says she has credit cards and she's fine and takes her to lunch. It's clear that Avery, again, wants to be in control, and Avery orders lunch, tells her they deserve it, asks her how her work is, and Christine asks which one because she's currently burning the candle at three ends, which she didn't know was possible. Avery says maybe one should go, and Christine says for now it's fun, and asks if she noticed that people are fucking insane, and just that line in general, I mean, it didn't seem like a huge deal now, but you can definitely think this has got to be, a problem at some point, definitely. It's got to be a problem. We don't know when it's going to be a problem, but it just makes me think that even though she's saying it right now, I do feel like at some point this is going to be a problem. It's not now, but it's going to be, and I can't wait to see what happens with that, because I definitely think at some point that is going to be a problem with Christine having to juggle these three things at once. I mean, she has three jobs right now. She, works at law school. She works at Kirkland, obviously, and now she's a GFE. How is she going to be able to manage all this stuff? We don't really know. I think Christine thinks she can, but there's a part of me that feels like, no, maybe she can't. Just the way that this all, is going, I don't know if she really can juggle all this. I feel like she wants to, but I don't really know if she can. So, at law school, Christine then gets a call from Jacqueline, who says that she has someone she'd love to meet and asks if she's free for lunch on Thursday, and Christine says she can make that work, meets with a guy, Michael, and very sad scene. He says his wife has passed away for 11 months and is as close to his kids because they're adults and they have their own lives. He says nice to spend time with someone, just talk, and it's clear that he doesn't actually want sex. He actually just wants to talk to her, and Chelsea says that they can talk whenever he'd like, and she calls Jacqueline and says they're having a really nice time together, and she declines the call. Jacqueline does not answer for whatever reason. Now, why Jacqueline's not answering, we don't know, but this is very interesting, and definitely there's got to be a reason why she's not answering. We don't know what it is, though. So she then goes into the bathroom, but actually types all of his information down to her phone because she has to remember all this stuff. It's clear that this guy doesn't just want to have sex and then leave. He clearly wants something closer, and since she knows that, she needs to get all of his information down so that way he can become her official client. And it doesn't matter if Christine likes him or not. To her, this is just a job. That really is what it is. Again, remember, this is just a job to Christine. This isn't really much of anything else except that, and she's going to make sure that it stays a job. You can tell that Michael doesn't want intimacy in that way. He just wants to talk, which I think is very interesting, and probably the first man we've met on the show that is like that. So she then goes home, hears moaning coming from Avery's room. Clearly, that's Avery's new client. She wakes her up in the middle of the night and apologizes to Christine, asks if she can lie down beside her. Christine says she should have asked, and she'll give her half for letting her and 500. Avery says she doesn't want it, and Christine says that Jacqueline won't answer her calls and doesn't know why, and Avery says she's sorry. Christine thanks her for being there for her, tells her to kiss her, they make out, and then they end up having sex, and that's how the episode ends, which is very interesting, the fact that these two had sex. But again, remember, sex is not much to them. It doesn't really mean much of anything. It kind of is just commitment to them, and kind of just a symbol of, thank yous and things like that. To them, this is their job, so them having sex, this is not saying, oh, Christine and Avery are lesbians. It's saying sex to them means nothing, and you can definitely see that here. So overall, guys, a really great episode. I definitely really loved it, but I love the way that Jacqueline is starting to control Christine, but you can tell that Jacqueline is giving Christine things that Avery didn't. I mean, Avery's being kicked out of her house, and being forced to leave without, Jacqueline saying, all right, I'll do anything for you, while Jacqueline is paying for Christine's house, and is basically doing everything for her, and Avery can clearly see that. Now, it's clear that Avery isn't really doing anything about it right now, but I think as the show goes on, she's definitely going to start to become more and more controlling, and she's definitely going to start to get a bit jealous of Christine. You can definitely tell from this episode that definitely is going to start to happen, and I'm really interested in seeing what's going to happen with that. And like I said, that last scene, I think, really does show that sex doesn't mean much of anything. Let's talk about Michael, because I do think that Michael is going to be someone that Christine ends up taking an interest in, and someone that he clearly likes Chelsea, he wants to be with Chelsea, and it's clear that he doesn't just want sex. He actually wants emotional commitment, which I think is very interesting. And we'll have to see where that goes, because I really do care for this guy. I mean, you see that his wife died and he really just wants someone to talk to, and that seems like that's all he wants from her. But does he want sex? I mean, we don't really know. That's going to be very interesting. We'll have to see what's going on there. Why is Jacqueline declining Christine's calls? We don't really know, but for whatever reason, she's not picking up her calls. We don't know why. That's definitely very interesting. I can't wait to see what's going on there. Maybe Christine has done something that Jacqueline's not happy about. I mean, we see in the promo, Jacqueline says, don't let Avery get close to you, don't listen to Avery and all this stuff. So it does kind of seem like Jacqueline is going to start to control Christine, and basically seems like she wants to turn her against Avery. Now, remember, we know Christine said in the first episode that competition is a major component of a job, and I think Christine expected that. But when I heard that, I thought she was talking about Aaron and Christine, when really it seems like it's more about Avery and Christine. It really seems like Jacqueline, I think, is going to try to turn these two against each other and basically just treat Christine better than Avery, because Christine just has a lot of things that Avery doesn't. Whether she's more attractive, I don't know, but Christine just seems like she's more approachable towards her, and Avery she's not as. Now, we haven't actually seen Avery's life, but from what we've seen, it does seem like she does not get all the, as good as treatment as Christine is, which I think is very interesting, and I definitely looking forward to seeing what's happening with that. Now, Tariq, as we know, Christine has now left their apartment. She's now somewhere else. She's in this house now. How's she gonna explain this to Tariq? Because it's clear that something happened between her and Tariq that we don't know about, and that's actually the thing I'm most looking forward to, is finding out what happened between these two, because something definitely happened between Tariq and Christine back in the day, and we don't know what it is. And Tariq's convinced that, that basically that Stacy's not gonna think it's a big deal, but Christine thinks it is. So I'm looking forward to seeing what really did happen between Christine and Tariq. Were they together? Was it like a sexual encounter? I mean, a bevy of things could have happened there. So definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing what could happen between Tariq and Christine. I don't really know. That's going to be very interesting. And then this whole situation with Holgram and David, how is this going to be resolved? It's clear that Christine is going to get involved because she heard about this. We've seen it, and it's part of her life, but I think she's getting involved somehow. And it also, I think, is going to be clear that it's going to be hard for her to juggle these three lives. I think she thinks it's going to be easy right now. She enjoys it, but I think as the show goes on, it's going to get harder and harder for her to do that, and we'll have to see what happens with that. But overall, guys, I'm really enjoying the show. Really good stuff so far. I think, like I said, this was better than episode 1. I definitely really enjoyed this episode. I love the way it was done. It didn't just feel like setup. It did feel like part of the second half of part 1. But again, I love that they're just able to do this stuff in 30 minutes. A lot of shows, just, a lot of them don't tell stories in 30 minutes, and this did. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Definitely really loving this show so far. What are you guys thinking of this show? If you guys haven't checked out the show, definitely check it out. It's really great so far. Let me know what you guys saw this show, and I will see you guys in my next show, which will be for the series premiere of Dice, the new show that's going to be on Showtime tonight. I'm going to watch the first episode, and that will determine if I watch the other 5. I know there are 6 episodes up. You can watch the whole season, but I'm just going to watch the first one, then tell you if I watch the other 5, because I heard it's not that great, but I'm going to check it out anyway, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.